Hiya, I'm Vanessa Schoensiegel, and this is going to be the Relationship of Poetics, made by Eli and me in first hour literature. To view the presentation without my voiceover, go to the link over here. So, the overview. The four major topics we're going to be talking about are syntax, prosody, poetic forms, and how they are interconnected. Syntax. Syntax is the sequence and connection of the words, phrases, and clauses that constitute the sentences in a work. So basically, it's normal English. Simple sentences, complex sentences, compound sentences, and the like, and how they are used in various writing exploits. Prosody. Two different parts of prosody are consonants, the repetition of consonant sounds in two or more successive words or stressed syllables that contain different vowel sounds, and assonance, the repetition of identical or similar vowel sounds in nearby words or stressed syllables. And then meter. Meter is the recurring pattern of sounds that give poems written in verse their distinctive rhythms. Some examples of meter would be iambic meter, trochee meter, and dactyl meter. Metrical feet are the methods of classifying the rhythms of a poem into syllable patterns. For example, all metrical feet include at least a stressed syllable and an unstressed syllable. Poetic forms. This is an example of a couplet seen in the play Hamlet by Shakespeare. The time is out of joint, O cursed spite, that ever I was born to set it right. Notice how the poem is two lines coupled together. This poem by Robert Herrick is an example of a triplet. And notice how the poem is in three lines paired together by a similar rhyme at the end. So goes, flows, and clothes all rhyme together. This poem by Shakespeare is an example of a quatrain, and it is in typical A-B pattern, which is the simplest pattern that you can see in a quatrain. The end words rhyme together in an interchanging scheme. So sun and done rhyme just like red and head rhyme. This poem, written by Carl Solomon, is an example of refrain because this phrase right here, this sentence, repeats throughout the poem in order to create a beat or a similar point throughout the poem. Blank and free verse are different than the rest of them because they don't necessarily require a specific rhyme scheme or meter. These poems are freer than other types of poems but lack the structure that regular poems have. Interconnectedness. So none of these different methods of writing should be used by themselves to analyze a work. So syntax by itself is just looking at how words are connected. And prosody is meter and rhythm. And poetic forms are types of structures that you use to write a piece. But they are required to be used together in order to get the full idea of what a piece is supposed to mean. So poetic forms create a structure on which correct syntax can be applied and can be analyzed to understand an author's intent better. Meter is similar to the poetic forms in that it creates structure that can help create a more understandable poem. And then down here is a chart that helps illustrate that point. When using syntax to analyze, you should look to see if it's simple or complex sentence structure, and how do the sentence structures convey the tone, and what does the syntax then say about the piece. When analyzing prosody, you should consider how the rhythm of the poem influences the mood and how the meter impacts the flow of the reading, which then ultimately culminates in how does structure influence the piece. And then when analyzing poetic forms, you should consider how the poem's divided up and what information is included in each part, culminating in how is information grouped and how is information separated. In the end, put everything together and analyze the piece. Remember to analyze by part and as a whole. And here's the link again if you want to read the presentation yourself. Bye!